Hello everyone, welcome to Careers in STEM series. My name is Akul Gunukula, and I'm a sophomore at Troy High School.
Hi, my name is Tanisha Panchal, and I'm a junior at Troy High School.
We are FRC Team 226, the Hammerheads from Troy, Michigan, consisting of over 100 high school students from Troy and Athens High School.
We've been competing in the first robotics competition since 1999. This Career in STEM series is a bi-monthly show occurring on the first and third Thursdays of every month. During these episodes, we interview an individual working in the STEM field and learn about their experiences. Before we start, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for supporting our team and all of our activities, including this Career in STEM series.
Also remember, make sure to put your questions in chat, and we will answer them at the end of our interview. So today our guest is Kunal Garg. Kunal graduated from Troy High School in 2015 and double majored in computer science and economics at University of Pennsylvania. He has interned at several companies including Microsoft, Facebook, Siemens, and others. He currently works as a software engineer at Wealthfront. And for this series, we will have a 30-minute interview period, and we will answer questions from the chat periodically throughout the interview.
Our first question for you is, what activities did you do in high school? This could be either your first robotics experience or any other clubs that you were part of, and how did they help you prepare for college?
Sure. First off, thanks so much for having me. Really excited for this conversation. So in terms of high school activities and experiences, I think I spread myself a little too thin and tried to do a lot of things. I was involved in 226 and several other business organizations. So I was part of BPA, which is Business Professionals of America. I was part of student government, was part of the soccer team, the varsity team. I was part of the Troy Theater Ensemble, and I helped start the Entrepreneurship Club at Troy High School. And I think I tried to do a lot of things, and that definitely helped me kind of get exposure to a lot of different fields. So I think 226 was definitely one of the highlights of my high school experience too.
So in 226, what did you do? What group were you part of?
Yeah, so I think my 226 experience was a little unique. I wasn't so much on the engineering side and wasn't too involved with building the robot. So I joined actually, I think my sophomore year, and Srini at the time, I think he convinced me. He was like, "Hey, you should join." And I was doing some business work at the time with the other clubs that I mentioned, and he said, "Why don't you do the business plan for the team?" So I said, "Hey, why not? That sounds exciting. I'll try and apply what I learned in some other clubs and apply it here." So we created a mini business plan team, and we dug out the old business plan that was made like maybe 5-10 years ago, and dusted it off and tried to rework some of the papers in that. So we kind of created like a new org structure. We tried to go through some of the finances, and so we kind of created this new binder of information that we ended up submitting to FRC. So that was my main involvement. It was more on the business side. So I wasn't too involved with building the robot, but I was really excited to be a part of the team and seeing all the exciting parts of the competition.
What were some of your interests in high school?
Yeah. So I mean, academically, I think I was definitely more of a STEM kid. I did enjoy math, science, and the like. I was involved in sports. I played lacrosse and soccer outside of school, and those kind of kept me going. And I think it was a good balance between those academic activities and those athletic extracurriculars. I think the other clubs that I mentioned, like the business clubs and the ensemble clubs, they also help me like kind of stay well rounded, and it helped me kind of like I said before, get exposure to different parts of high school and different folks as well.
So, do you have any recommendations for students on how they should go about looking into different majors and different fields of study?
Yeah. So I would recommend. I mean, I would try and get exposure to as much as you can. I think trying a lot of things worked really well for me. It may not work for everyone, but like I mentioned, I did do some of the things in arts, and I did do some things in more on the STEM side. And once I found my niche of um, kind of like product development, was kind of the niche that I enjoyed in high school. So it was a lot of like business plan writing for some of the clubs that I was involved in. I think that really helped me solidify my interests, and that actually helped me decide what schools I want to apply to and what majors I want to apply to. I knew I wanted to do something that was slightly technical, but would also involve the business side of bringing that product to the end user. And so I think if people can get exposure to things that are interesting to them through extracurriculars and activities, highly recommend it. And just try different things as much as you can in high school, because that's the time to try it out. And yeah, hopefully you find your niche, and you can use that to guide your decisions when applying to college and after that as well. And that always keeps going too. Like, I think people try a bunch of stuff in college and post grad too. So it never ends. People are always learning and trying to figure out their niche.
So, your program that you were accepted into at the University of Pennsylvania is obviously a really prestigious program. How did you go about your college applications? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So um, I got kind of lucky. I was actually driving to Boston. We were on a family trip at one point, and we stopped in Philly. And my dad said, "Hey, why don't we tour UPenn?" I said, "Okay, fine. I'm not really that interested." Being a sophomore, freshman, I was like, I don't really care about this stuff. And then we were kind of like going through campus, and there was like one door to this like management technology building, and we were curious, so we walked in and we talked to some of the people there, and it really struck a chord with me. I was like, whoa, this is actually kind of interesting. It really aligns with what I was interested in doing. Um, it was really in line with that business and engineering and product work that I was talking about before. And at the time, the buzzword was entrepreneurship, and it really fit the bill. So I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And so that program actually has a summer institute as well. So it's called the Management Technology Summer Institute. So that's something I applied to when I was a junior as well. So I got some exposure and was able to get college credit out of it as well. But it really helped inform my college decision, because I was able to kind of get some college exposure at the high school level, and also see what kind of work that they do, what kind of classes they have. The professors came in and gave some lectures as well. We had essays. It really felt like a college class, and that kind of like helped me decide, hey, this is something that is interesting to me, and this is something that I want to work towards. And it really was formative in the schools that I applied to. I was like, hey, this is super interesting to me. I had a great time at the summer program. I want to apply to programs that are like this across the country. So like I applied to schools that had an intersection between business and engineering. So I applied to Michigan's Ross and engineering program. And I'm not sure if you can still do that, but they were allowing people to apply to both schools at the time. And, I think Berkeley now has a dual degree program as well, which is between Haas and their engineering school. And so that was like, I got lucky, I guess. I was just on that trip to Boston, but I think like if you just view your experiences with the lens of like, hey, this is what interests me. Let me just keep pursuing this. That's what worked for me. I got lucky, and I feel like if people just keep, looking out for what interests them, they might stumble along something that really fits the bill for college.
So you talked about the summer camp. What was it called, and how did you go about like applying for that?
Yeah, for sure. So the program that I was in college is called the Jerome Fisher Program in Management and Technology. So it's a long name, but you get one full degree in the engineering school, and you get one full degree in the business school, Wharton, and it's really great. And so they to encourage some exposure to that at the high school level, they also have a summer program, and the short form is MNTSI. So it's Management and Technology Summer Institute. And it's basically, I think it's like an 8-week program. Actually, I take that back. It's probably a lot shorter than that. But it's just a summer program that allows you to get exposure. It's like a really condensed version of things that you would get exposure to in college. And there are a lot of programs across the country that are like this. I know Michigan has one too. I actually did one my sophomore year, I think, at Michigan called MMSS. I think it's like Michigan Math Science Scholars or something. That was also pretty formative too, because I was the class that I took there was like it was a mathematical modeling in biology or something. And so I was able to see, hey, this is super interesting to me. But it was also helpful in knowing that, like, oh, okay, this might not be something I want to do. Also, it's helpful to know what you don't want to do, so like maybe I don't want to like do the medicine side for now. And that kind of helped me say, okay, let me lean into that interest of entrepreneurship and business and those kind of things. So that's the program that I did. And again, there are tons of programs out there. Highly recommend just like giving a Google search for like, summer program at whatever school, and just definitely give it a best shot.
What really made you stand out on these applications?
For these like summer programs or like for like college?
Both.
It could be both.
Oh, both. Okay. Honestly, I don't know. I think I got lucky for a lot of these things. But I think, showing your interest through school and extracurriculars, and how that aligns with what you want to do, definitely helps a lot. So, if you are applying to a STEM summer program, if you have taken, courses that align with that, with those interests, like taking whatever AP physics or AP bio, those kind of things, and then trying to get like other experiences. I know some friends of mine, they did like research on the side, like they would maybe go to like the local hospital and say, is there a place that I can do research here, or can I shout out some doctors if you're interested in that space, and getting some experience, whether that's through just reaching out through clubs, through classes, and then kind of using that to bolster your application for these programs. It's really like a compounding effect, like just showing your interest through some way or another, and trying to get into it. It just kind of like it adds to your application, and then you'll get into the summer program, and then the summer program will help you apply to college. So I think like, yeah, again, it's just really leaning into those interests and trying to get as much exposure as you can. I think that's what helped me, and yeah, hopefully it works out for other people as well.
So your majors are computer science and economics. So you said that the school that you went to, or the program that you went to, management technology, that's pretty broad range. Why'd you choose computer science and economics out of all of them?
Yeah, so actually, you get to choose one major in the engineering school and one concentration is what they call it in the business school. So my engineering major was computer science, and then my concentration in the business school was finance. So I'll speak to the engineering side first. When I applied to the program, I knew I wanted to like work towards building things, whether that was like a product or some service or something, but getting it to like an end user, building something and getting it to an end user, right? That was something that was exciting to me. And, I was also interested in art at the time. And so I was like, what are some engineering majors that like kind of blend this interest of, engineering, art, just building something. And I stumbled upon one of the majors was actually digital media design, which is kind of like the physics of animation. So that was what I first applied to, and I ended up changing it to computer science because it was just a lot. Like I was doing, I was trying to take art classes and also all these engineering classes. It turns out to be a lot you're trying to squeeze into just 4 years. And I think a lot of people go through this experience too, where they first apply going in as one major and then they end up changing it because, it fits their interests more, or it fits their schedule more. The courses may not be what they initially imagined, but I think for me, it was just a function of time. I think it was just a lot. Like I mentioned, I sometimes spread myself a little too thin. So yeah, it was just the fact that I wanted to build something, and I knew that computer science was one of the ways and the hot ways to really get involved and like build something quick and efficiently for end users. And it was an easy transition from digital media design because it was part of the whole like animation and engineering space. And then for the business side, my major was finance. It's Wharton has a really nice program where for the first couple of years, you really don't have to declare a concentration. You can take like a lot of classes and get exposure to all the different topics like marketing, operations, finance, real estate, whatever it may be, accounting. You can take classes in all these spaces and then decide a concentration later on. So, I'd taken a lot of these classes and really decided like, hey, like this is something that I think would help with my like career goals of like wanting to build something, getting into the end user. So actually another major that I was considering was marketing at the time, because it's super valuable to know that as, for example, like a product manager, if you are fitting in that role, or if you are wanting to build your own product and you are trying to do entrepreneurship, marketing is so key. So that was super interesting to me, and that also fit the bill of like trying to do art too. So I was, again, it kind of is getting this theme of just trying to do things that interest me, and then trying to like lean into that and get exposure. So marketing was something that had interested me, and then also the finance side of things. I think again that's something that like is super pivotal, super integral to building a business. I think understanding how things work on the finance side is super important. And I figured, like Penn is a good school for finance. It was a great place to really get that foundation. Some of the best professors in the world go there. And I was really fortunate and lucky to have this opportunity to get exposure to that. So I said, you know what, I want to really take advantage of this experience and learn more about this. And it turned out to be really great. I got to learn from some really great professors and get that strong technical foundation, which is something that I also wanted to get from college, both on the engineering side and technical on the business side as well. So, I was able to get that through finance, and that ended up being like why I chose both sides of the coin. And another reason why I chose finance, I think like, and it's become like a hot topic now with everyone trading on Robinhood and stuff like that. Like I was excited by that stuff too. Like, it's exciting to see what's happening in the stock market. You feel like you're part of something bigger because you're literally buying a share of a company, so those kind of things were exciting to me too. So, trading and those kind of concepts were things I wanted to learn more about. And that was also another reason why I chose finance. So a lot of reasons, but it got me to where I am now. So that is why I chose computer science and finance. long answer, but I hope that helped.
Yeah.
So you decided to double major in those two fields, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Why was that?
So, like, do you mean like why I chose to go in, like, into the career, or like for why I chose to do this in college?
Why did you decide to double major? Yeah, I guess college.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it was a good way to like really get that full experience for entrepreneurship, right? Like if you're building something, you want to be able to actually build a product, but also get it to the end user. And it's entrepreneurship really is a confluence of those two things, an amalgamation of that. So it's like I figured like, oh, it would be a good opportunity to actually learn both sides of things if I wanted to pursue this later on. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's good bang for your buck if you can do 2-in-1. Tuition isn't cheap nowadays, so it worked out that way.
Yeah. So how did having this double major in computer science and finance help you find a job? Like, did it increase your like pay or like your value as in a sense or want from employers?
Yeah. So I think in terms of my peers, there were very few instances where someone was really using both sides of this MNT education right off the bat. They often leaned one side or the other, right? Like people would go towards investment banking, they would go towards consulting, or they would go straight to software engineering. I feel like there's very few places where you're really using both sides of your education. Like if you're doing tech consulting, if you're doing like product management and a highly technical product, if you're doing like banking in a highly technical technical desk or something. So a lot of my peers, they lean one way or another. I don't think it helped with salaries per se. I think most people, we're all new grads when we first graduate from college, and I think everyone gets paid the same for the typical role. But it definitely, I think it helps kind of like have some edge. I think if you are a student that has understanding of a different side, a different space, a different field, you have domain expertise or relative domain expertise in some other space. So it kind of helps. So especially in those cases that I talked about where you're doing tech consulting, like I think you fit the bill better than someone who, has only studied business or something. You may understand the engineering or the product behind some of the work that your clients may be doing in tech consulting. So I think it makes a better narrative when you are applying to these companies, as in terms of like why you'd be interested and why you may understand the concepts better. And I think it definitely helped for me too. Like I wanted to do things that used both sides of my education, which is why I chose to work at Wealthfront. So that was a way for me to use both sides of my education. And the company is a fintech company. It's literally both finance and engineering. So people will gravitate towards things that can use their both sides of their degree, but they lean one way or another. In my experience.
So you've interned at some really large-scale companies like Microsoft and Facebook. How were you able to find these opportunities?
Yeah. So for Microsoft, it was more of like an on-campus thing. It was kind of like a brand ambassador kind of role. So I was working with some of their technologies, and highly recommend it if anyone's in college. It's a pretty sweet gig. You can I think you get a free service if you do it. So it's called Microsoft Student Partners. If you just Google it. For Facebook, I had gone a pretty standard route. I had interviewed on campus and luckily got an interview and prepped a ton for it. There are books for each of these spaces. If you're doing consulting, there's this thing called Case in Point. If you're doing banking, I think it's called The Vault. If you're doing software engineering, it's called Cracking the Coding Interview. If you're doing product management, it's Cracking the PM Interview. And they're basically these books that help you train for these interviews. And so when I was applying to Facebook, it was a lot of studying those books that were relevant, and then interviewing and doing mock interviews with my friends, people that were upperclassmen, and getting advice from them. Mock interviews are super helpful if you are going through the process, and then making sure I was prepped properly. I think in terms of finding some of these opportunities, whether it's just going through your school's career services, that can be a great option for folks that are in their freshman or sophomore year. I know that a lot of these bigger tech companies offer programs that get you like early exposure. I think Google has like engineering practicum, Facebook has FBU, Microsoft has Explore, and they're basically programs that are meant to get people exposure to the space that maybe they wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. There are a lot of diversity programs that encourage folks to get exposure to these fields as well, and that this is across the board. I've seen companies, not non-tech companies, I'm saying as well, like these business companies, these consulting companies, and banks, bulge bracket banks that do this as well, and doing those when you're in your younger years can definitely help. In college, I think it can also help to get some small startup experience as well, and kind of like build on it. So my freshman year, I actually worked at a small drone company here in Michigan in Bloomfield Hills, and that was kind of like a way to get the ball rolling, like get that compounding thing that I was talking about. Like, okay, I got like a small internship there, so we're able to like kind of like have some fun with drones and get some kind of like entrepreneurship experience, because it was like a small 8-person startup, and like being part of that environment like helped build a better narrative for the next thing. Like, oh, like I like building things, being side of the engineering. I even made my own drone that summer, and that helped for the next summer in terms of like justifying like, okay, I want to do engineering. So when they're reading my application, like, oh, he's definitely interested in this. He's like, he did something that's tangentially related. So it definitely helped in applying to these programs.
So you did Microsoft internship, and Facebook internship, and Siemens also. How did they all differ? Like, what different things did you do in those different companies?
Yeah. So for I can kind of go in order. So my freshman year, when I was working at that drone company, it's called Drone View Technologies. I was getting to screw around and fly some drones, which was the fun part, but there was also a lot of work to it as well. Like we were helping to process data that the drones captured and provide really important metrics to some of the clients in terms of like 3D maps and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with drones. I mean, it's not just fun, flying drones. So that was some of the work that I did there. The next summer, I worked at Siemens and was at on their big data product. So I was helping build an authentication system. So that was kind of like a full stack development experience. So this is when I was like starting to get a little bit more exposure to computer science. So I was applying some of the skills that I had gotten in school and was doing work in Java and some like HTML stuff. So it was a cool way to kind of like apply what I had been learning, and then after that, I interned at Facebook. Facebook was, again, another full stack internship. I was doing Hack is the language in the back end, and then React is what Facebook uses on the front end. And that was pretty cool. It was kind of cross-functional, where I was talking to some folks on the data science side, on product, and trying to build a cool product there. It was really exciting, actually. That product was in a very relevant space. And then finally, I did an internship at Redfin, which I really loved. For people that aren't familiar with Redfin, it's like Zillow. It's a real estate company in a sense. And I was originally hired as a software engineering intern. So I was doing like a full stack project, but I told them like, hey, I'm really interested in product management as well. I want to get some exposure to this as well. And they said, okay, cool. You can, if you finish your engineering project, we'll let you do some more stuff or something. We'll let you do some product stuff. And like, okay, cool. I'll try and grind at it. And so I tried to get through the engineering part, and halfway through I was like, hey, I think I'm making progress on this. Can we also pick up some product work as well? And they're like, yeah, that sounds good. Why don't we give you this one project? And it was a smaller scope project, so I was able to get like a full project in engineering and a full project in product management. I was able to kind of decide from there, what are some things in each of these roles that interest me. And then again, that was like pretty formative in helping me decide what I want to do long term and next as well. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if that was along the lines or not.
So you currently work at Wealthfront. What exactly does that company do, and what's your specific role?
Yeah, so Wealthfront originally was a robo-advisor. And what that means is they are a platform that allows individuals to get exposure to the stock market. Putting it plain and simply, like if I was a customer, what I would do is I would go to Wealthfront. I would say like, hey, I want to invest in the market, and I tell them, hey, I'm kind of interested. I would answer a couple of questions, and I would say I'm kind of risk tolerant, or I'm not risk tolerant. And based on like a couple of those questions, they'll say, okay, we think this is the best portfolio for you. So they will say like, okay, we will invest X amount in this part of the stock market and X amount in bonds or whatever it may be, and get a good portfolio for you. So that was like the original product for Wealthfront, and now it's expanded. There's a lot of services that Wealthfront provides. I really love the mission. It's all about building financial services for users and not favoring users and not favoring institutions. It's really like giving the best services that you can get from like a bank or something of that sort in one company. A lot of the work that we focus on is like automation when it comes to financial services, and like making sure that it's completely passive in terms of your finances as well. We give like really high interest rates, so it's like way better than some of like the banks that a lot of the other the normal banks that people do their banking with. So that's kind of what the product suite is like right now. They offer a few other things as well, but that's kind of like Wealthfront as a whole. My role in the company is I'm on the trading team. I was on the trading team, and now I'm on the brokerage team. And I'm an engineer, software engineer, so I am writing code. I'm a backend engineer, so I'm writing code mostly in Java. We do some things in Python to spin up pipelines. We have exposure to AWS, like Amazon Web Services. We're running queries, so we do SQL stuff. And I can go more in depth for what the day looks like, but it's more it's definitely a lot of engineering work and coordinating with the relevant stakeholders about like, okay, how do we improve this product and make sure that it's aligned with what our long-term plans are, and making sure it's up to par with the really high standard that Wealthfront has with quality engineering, which is another reason why I love working there. And it's a great company. And again, I didn't emphasize this before, but it is a startup. It's like around 200 people, and even though it's only 200 people, it's got a huge impact. I think the last time Wealthfront put out numbers for how much money they manage, I think last year the public number was like $24 billion. Like 200 people are managing $24 billion, which is insane. And it's like just a small startup, but like huge impact. And that was really exciting for me. Something that was like, wow, I want to be part of something that's really making some big moves here. So that was something that like brought me towards Wealthfront, got me excited about it. And that's what I'm doing every day now.
So how did you go about job interviews and salary negotiation at Wealthfront?
Yeah. So Wealthfront. So actually, the process of applying to Wealthfront, they come on campus and they will recruit. And I actually applied for an internship, and that didn't work out. So I applied again for full time, and I think it's So Wealthfront had come to campus a while back, and I was really excited about what they said. The CEO is a Penn grad, a UPenn grad, and he was doing a talk with the dean of our Wharton School, and he was really exciting, and I was really enjoying what he was saying about the product suite and what the company's mission is about. And so I kind of reached out to the company after that and said, "Hey, I'm super interested. I attended this talk, and are there any opportunities?" Again, like we've talked about, like really leaning into good experiences that you have and taking advantage of them. I think that struck a chord with them, so they were like, "Okay, cool. We'll give you an interview." The interview process with Wealthfront is pretty standard. I think they're like multiple rounds of technical questions. So you'll be coding on like an online screen, and you're working with an interview, and you'll both be typing away and answering some question or prompt that's provided by the interviewer. And there are a lot of behavioral questions along the way as well. And then eventually you'll get to like an on-site or a final round, and hopefully that proceeds to an offer. For salary negotiation, Wealthfront is really great about it, and they basically give you the best offer they possibly can, and that they think is what an individual is worth it in terms of like how much they can contribute and those kind of things at an age or at a skill level. And for all new grads, it's basically the same. So I actually did try and negotiate. I used all the like standard strategies and said like, hey, is there anything we can do with this side or this? And they were basically like, we really like are, we give the best offer we can. And honestly, it was a really generous offer, and I'm really fortunate and lucky to be working at such a great company. And like, I think I got lucky in to be working at a company where you literally can't negotiate your salary. It's pretty set by the company. But yeah.
What are you most excited about in your career field right now? Could be any new upcoming technological developments or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think the entire like fintech space is like super hot right now, and obviously there was like a bunch of commotion happening a week ago with Wall Street bets and Robinhood and those kind of things. And I think it's going to be really telling for people in terms of like what they want to get out of the market and out of their finances. Like, do they want it to be something passive? Do they want it to be something that like they are super invested in? Do they have to like watch these stocks and they go up and down and they need to keep track of this? And I think they're going to like hopefully be more informed about what they want to get out of the market. And I think that might align better with some of these products that Wealthfront might even offer, which is more long-term passive investing that is backed by fundamental research. I think that's something that has been there for a long time. Some of the new and exciting things, I think there's a lot of more automation that's happening in the space. A lot of companies are offering like options to like move money around automatically. Our company calls it autopilot and self-driving money. So like it's not Tesla's autopilot for sure, but it's exciting to be like applying some of these kind of like concepts, in a sense of like everything is moving faster. It's moving with a sense of like the human doesn't have to interact with it as much. It's just taking a best guess at like, okay, this is what is best for the client. And like a lot of these companies are doing it. Wealthfront's take on it is different from a lot of other companies, but that's definitely what's happening in the space, and it's exciting. I think it's happening for a lot of fields and a lot of industries.
So do you have any other advice for kids in college or that are planning their careers in high school right now?
I think for the people in Troy, I think this is mostly broadcasting to folks like at Troy High School and Athens and the like. I think when I look back at my experience, I was really fortunate to be surrounded by people that like were willing to support me and were genuinely invested in my progress, and they wanted to see me do well, which was super cool. And you get like so much mentorship. It's wild. Like you can, like most teachers are willing to like sponsor clubs that you want to start. They'll sit with you after class and answer your questions. Like, just something as simple as like you're in a class of like 30 kids, as opposed to when you get to college and if you take the same Calc BC class in college, you're in a class of like 200 people, right? Like you're getting so much more one-on-one experience or FaceTime with the professor or the teacher, and you get these amazing resources and amazing people willing to support you. I think the biggest thing I would say is take advantage of the amazing opportunities, the amazing support system that you have in Troy. I'm really fortunate and really lucky to have gone through Troy, and I hope other people see the value too, because I'm super grateful for having gone through Troy High.
All right, thank you so much, Kunal, and thank you all for joining us today. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And make sure to come back in 2 weeks on February 18th for our next show. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors for their help and contribution to our team. And I just want to thank everyone one more time. Have a good week.